Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Hey folks, welcome back to the podcast. I wanted to put a little bit of context in before today's episode because this is such an important one for me. It was great to reconnect with Zac, and there's a few things in this episode today that I think are going to speak to so many people. I wanted to have Zac back on and close the loop because at time of recording this episode, Zac was not back on the run. He's an operational firefighter in the UK and has gone through a very challenging period of time at a very pivotal point in his life, in his early 30s. And his experience spoke to so many dark holes in my life and corners that I found myself in. And whenever you're going through something like what Zac has gone through, and I'm not going to pretend that I've been through something the same as him, but we all have those journeys. We all have these moments of low. We all have these valleys to pass through. And there's so many overarching themes that can be taken away from his journey. We're going to talk about that comeback journey. We're effectively going to be talking about kind of that dark night of the soul. People will recognize that from poetry, from music, and it's that phase of passive purification, kind of the self, of the spirit, what it really means and how people deal with it, because we all deal with it differently. It's the stage in the evolution of us as highly evolved beings where we face that pivotal point in our development, and kind of that whole analogy of the need to press forward and just leave the past behind. Zac went through a period of time where he perhaps would never re-enter back into the emergency services. And that moment of self-awareness of the need to cut off from the past, dedicate himself to the things that he can do, to leverage things like stoicism, to control the controllables. Because when you do have these kind of challenges, you almost have to confront the fact that there is a death of all that's gone before and a birth of things that you can't even begin to conceive. What will life look like moving forwards? There's also a big aspect, when I think of Zac's recovery, about patience and perseverance. When everything shrinks down to the granularity of small incremental improvements in your life to get back to a place where you want it to be, or even to just develop from the valley which you find yourself in because you've fallen from such a great height. And there's only one course open to you. You can't leave it. All you can do is change it and develop on it. You are in it. And when you do start to turn the corner on that self-belief and start to see those incremental improvements, and you have to start to dare to think and have those ambitions again that weeks ago or even days ago, perhaps you couldn't even dare to think of. You can see the path back. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to talk a lot about resiliency, the fact that you must be willing to let go of the life you perhaps had planned so as to have the life that is now waiting for you. Life doesn't unfortunately get easier or more forgiving. We have to get stronger. We have to get more resilient. We're talking about confidence. We're talking about connection, character building, coping and controlling the things that you can control. You have to accept your new reality, even if you may feel like it's not as good as the one you had before. You can't fight it. You can do nothing but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept it and try and put forward something that's good. This is especially difficult, I think, for people in frontline services and in the emergency services, because you do have to remember that you are more than just the thing you do. Sometimes you have to lean on crutches in your life. Sometimes it's very healthy to leverage the people around you. There's a great example in today's episode where Zac actually leveraged the community of the podcast. He had a random connection with someone that really bolstered and acted as a performance enhancer to help with that self-belief, to get him back to where he is today. Since recording this episode, Zac is actually back on the run. He is an operational firefighter once again in the UK Fire and Rescue Service. And it's just been an incredible story that I wanted to close the loop on with today's episode. So it's not a massively long one today, and we'll be going over some of the stuff that we've previously covered in a past episode. But Zac's journey has been incredible for me. It's helped me connect some of the dots in my life. Because if you've not had a setback like this yourself, I promise you, as Murphy's Law would suggest, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And this is not out of pessimism. But if you haven't met Murphy yet, he will find you one day. It may be a relationship, it may be physically, it may be financially, it may be professionally. He will be waiting for you round a corner with a big bat. But when you do get that inevitable setback, what are you going to do about it? It might feel like the end of something, but it's also the beginning of something else. And through the things we're going to talk about today, recovery, setback, perseverance, resiliency, you can get back. So thanks for joining us today. Let's get in there with Zac, and I'll see you on the other side.
I'm in. Got it, I think. Hitting it.
You technical clusterfuck. How are you, brother?
Man, I'm such a dinosaur, man.
You know what? I was looking at your stuff a second ago. We're the same age.
I thought you were a
Yeah, I know. Well, it's all them fucking roids when I was younger. I don't think it's done me any benefits, I tell you. People give it a fucking miss. But no, I always think like I'm trying to cram 6 lifetimes into one. But then when I look at people like you, I'm like, we're the same fucking age.
I know, it's mad. It's mad.
Never mind. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good, mate. I'm doing well.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together.
How are you?
I'm not quite as well as you, but I don't know, maybe not actually. You know, I mean, we always say, you know, we compare ourselves to people's highlight reels and all that shit, but I'm good. I mean, let's be fucking honest, I'm very good. I'm not fucking dead, am I? You know, I've not got limbs hanging off. I've got a job I love. I've got a family that loves me. So actually, I'm pretty fucking good.
You're winning.
And that's the bit. Yeah, that's the bit. You've got to have that sort of daily gratitude, that daily accountability. How's your world?
Good, mate. I'm doing really well. Like, obviously, I've come through what I've come through. I feel like I'm on the other side now, a stronger, better person, and just winning at life again. Yeah, doing well.
I wanted to start. There's loads of places I wanted to start actually. So I had a little list I was coming up with this morning when I was thinking about it in the shower. But that's a separate thing. I'm not going to use all of them. But when I was in the shower after I'd had my ice bath, and I thought maybe that's a good place to start. Because didn't you start doing ice baths this year?
I did, mate. Yeah, I toyed around with it a bit, but I started doing this year like religious, like 3-4 times a week. Just to help recovery and mindset and everything, really, like you know. Yeah.
Why did you start doing it? Because I try and preach ad nauseum to people, but it is one of those things. Like I get a lot of people happy to sauna and shit with me, but they're not happy to hit the other end of the spectrum as much. And sometimes they just think like it's a mental health thing, and just because I'm a little bit twisted, and that kind of helps balance me. But I think there's so much. Why did you start doing it, and what was like, what sold you on it? I suppose.
Numerous benefits, isn't it, if you look it up online? But for me, like, I did feel those feelings of might be a bit out my comfort zone. I won't particularly enjoy it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but that also intrigues me. I want to put out my comfort zone. I want to push the boundaries. I want to test what I can and can't do, and what my mind thinks I can and can't do. And I enjoy, like I said, pushing those boundaries. And when you get, I'm quite like all right at ice baths getting in now, but when I first started, the like 10 minutes before, the dread I'd feel, and like
I remember when I first set mine up, like 8 or 9 years ago, and I was pacing up and down, and I had a client come in. I gave myself time to set it all up. I had like an hour and a half gap when I was doing clients back then. I was like, I'm going to set it all up, I'm going to fill it, and blah 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 blah. And then I had it all done, and I had like 40 minutes before this person got here, and then I just like descended into this fucking anxious like mess where I was like, fucking hell, I just can't get in the fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, fucking hell, you fucking done all this shit. And then I was like, I've got half an hour and I've got 20 minutes, and all I was going to do was just 5 minutes. I only do 5 minutes now, but I was like, fucking hell. And it wasn't any like fear of cold water blackout or any of that sort of stuff, although people do need to be careful with that. I was just like, I don't know what it was. Those first few times I was just like, oh God, you know, you think you want to do it, and then when you're there, it's like, fuck.
You do, mate, don't you? I think it's just the fact that it's so uncomfortable at first, isn't it? It actually hurts and takes your breath away, and the first 30 seconds is the worst bit. Once you're in and you've actually sat there for a minute and settled, it's not that bad.
No, it starts to, I feel like it's nice between minutes 2.5 and 4. And then my feet start and my hands start to hurt a little bit. And like looked at all the research and stuff like that. So I do it in in a converted freezer, because I was going to ask you what your setup is. I kind of know, I've seen a little bit of what it is, but I'm interested in where you're going to go after this. So mine's a converted freezer, and I highly suggest it's the best way to do it with people. You just put it on a timer that you plug into the wall. So
Yeah.
it only goes on for 2 hours a day. It goes on less in the winter months because it doesn't need to be on at all. It kind of just keeps itself low. But I like to balance it around 0 and 1 degree. So
Yeah.
in those ranges, nothing past 5 minutes is, well, there's shown to be a massive drop off in potential benefits past 5 minutes. If you're going up around 8, 9, 10 degrees, then you can do up to like 15 minutes, but it's a slightly different benefit. It's more muscle recovery and all that sort of jazz. Whereas the big inflammation, psychological, norepinephrine, adrenaline, lymphatic drainage, all of that sort of shit is right in the sort of lower numbers. Talk me through when you first did it, how you what your setup is, and then I'm interested in thinking about if you're going to carry on doing it, and if so, how.
Yeah, like you said, I saw your setup. It looks brilliant, mate. It's probably something I'd need to get
Fucking
on.
cheaper as well, mate. It's not expensive. Like you can these fucking systems out there that are really fucking expensive. And I was looking at one of the cheaper options earlier, the Lumi ones, but they're dog shit, and you have to fill them with ice all the time, and it's just not. Sorry, I interrupted you, but it's not sustainable. They're not. Freezer's the best way to go. It just doesn't look fancy.
Yeah, it's probably my situation. Like I've got away with it in the winter. I've got like a decent sized whiskey barrel that I
Yeah.
bought online, and I've got the top chopped off and just kept that as a lid. And during winter, like we said, it was already freezing cold. It's usually iced over, so I had to break in to get into it, which was
Yeah.
part of the and also the dread.
Yeah.
And now it's still quite cold. Like if I get in the morning or night, I'll chuck a bag and a half of ice in, leave it for 10 minutes to thaw out a bit and make the water cold, and then get in. But that sustainable, especially come spring, summer. I might have to look at what you've got your setup and have a look at something
I
like
think
that.
like now, mate, onwards, because I'll bet if you dropped, and this is not, there's still loads of benefits and blah blah blah. It's not a fucking dick measuring competition, but it's like if you dropped a thermometer in there now, I'll bet you're around 10 degrees, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but because you went out in the park and went through the lake as well, didn't you? You pulled in a mate for that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, like during the winter, if I've been out for a run, I see a pond or a lake, I'm like, oh, that looks cold. I'll use that. It's quicker. It's available.
But in terms of making it into an efficient thing, that's the thing where people, and it's the same with things like swimming and sauna and shit like that. It's like, it's a nice to, but it's a ball ache because I'd love to have my own sauna, but I'm not going to fucking put the investment into it because I'm struggling to find a fucking cheap way to do that. And I want something. So for me, like sauna, you want to be looking at about an hour a week, and you can break that into 3 20-minute sessions or anything like that. Whereas with the immersion, you don't want to be doing anything more, or there's no potential benefits of doing anything more than I think it's about 20 minutes a week. So I'll try and break that into 4 5s, and I'll do a 5 minute 4 times a week, which then also gives me those days off and all that sort of shit in piss. And it allows it to like become part of your routine. Because for people that aren't a firefighter like yourself, haven't got fucking 2 days off here, there, 4 days off, whatever, haven't got that or feel like they haven't got that flexibility. How are you thinking about making it sustainable moving forward? Because it's got to be something you've got to be able to do quick and easy in the morning, either in and around the workout or some point during the day. Like, what do you think that's going to look like?
Yeah, good question, mate. It's a difficult one, isn't it? We are shifts, but I at the minute I'm doing similar to you. I do 5 minutes a week, and I'm hoping that open with shifts. It'll either have to be early morning. I like to do it after a workout, usually within 30 minutes after a workout, especially if I've got like a more cardio workout. I'm hot and sweaty anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3-5 times a week, hopefully 4. But it'd have to be early morning, either before work or probably after work when I'm on shift. And then when I'm not on shift, I can do it pretty much any time. But I'd need a decent setup like you, really.
It's not that difficult. Sometimes you can grab hold of a second-hand freezer, and they're not that hard to get hold of. But even if okay, buying a new freezer because it's got to be big enough. I mean, what are you, 6 foot, just under 6?
No, well, I'm quite a bit under that, mate. I'm 5'7".
5'7". So you might not need as big a one as me, to be fair. And it's whether or not you want to be able to get your head under. But you can pick them up for like 400 quid or something. And I know people say, "Oh, that's not cheap though." You can get a second-hand one off fucking Facebook or whatever. There's just a ball ache to try and get hold of the damn thing. But then you just have to line it. And all I mean by that is just like bathroom silicone. That's all I put in mind. So silicone, line it. And then you want a little sub pump. You can get it off Amazon for about 15 quid. And it literally just, like if you've ever flooded anything, it's basically just a little positive displacement pump, a little pipe out of it. And then I have mine in my garage. So I just fill it up with the hose pipe. Every 3 weeks I drain it because there's only me that goes in there. So I don't really have to like strain it much. And I've got the little, you fucking skim stuff off the fish tank, one of those little strainers. And every now and again, I will just run that over the top in case, and I'll be honest, in case there's 1 or 2 hairs in there, but it's only me that fucking uses it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And then I wash it out every sort of 3 weeks. And it's super sustainable, and it's not really costly either. People are like, I don't want to pay to run an extra freezer. You're literally putting it on for about an hour or 2 hours a day, And we got solar panels, so I put it on in the afternoon. Mine runs between 4 and 6 in the evening, where the dying light, so you still got that, and then it's perfect for the next day. Once you got into a little routine, then it's always ready. And it's just like, I'll tell you what, I've got 10 minutes. I'm just going to go and jump in. And you feel like a fucking beam of light when you come out of it. It's fucking awesome.
Feel amazing, don't you? Wired. It's
So you also got 2 new tattoos. Talk me through. What's the crack?
One on each forearm. I got one like quite a few months ago now. It was just it's a barbell with the weight I had on when I was warming up when I had the stroke, with the 8th of May 22 on, and just a little reminder of that day and what I was doing. And then I've just recently got another one on the other forearm, a stoic phrase, amor fati, which is love of fate. And it's, again, just with my situation I've been through, I've kind of found stoicism, and a lot of it I resonated with, and it's helped me through, just dealing with what I've had to deal with mentally, accepting that what happened, it was out of my control, and all I can really focus on is how I respond to it, what I do about it, and go from there. So it's just a little bit deep, but it's just
no,
good
it's
for
not
me.
deep at all, mate. You should go there. You should go there mentally as often as possible, because that for me screams the serenity prayer, which I've done a lot of work with a lot of people, including myself. And it is those stoic philosophies. A lot of people feel like it's all outdated, but actually they don't realize how much they interact with it a lot, because a lot of the stuff that they're on social media now is just regurgitations of a lot of stoic philosophy, which is not a dig at anybody. It's fucking useful. It's timeless stuff. It's a beautiful way to detach your psychology truly from, knowing what's in your control, what's out of your control, the wisdom to know the difference and all that sort of jazz.
It really is, mate. It really is. And like I said, I was in a dark place when I found it, and it's really helps me a lot. I have a couple of books on it. I read it every night. I listen to the Daily Stoic podcast every morning. Just, lots of positive affirmations and just tools to deal with what I was going through mentally. I found a lot of helpful things in it, and things I was already like mentally doing anyway. Like I said, so much of it resonated with me. Like you said, in modern day times, you do it, you just don't realize it was such an ancient philosophy that you're already doing anyway.
I think we think that we do it a lot, but when you can actually contextualize it and you can have it in a framework, like a saying, or like a almost I don't want to say a discipline, but like a routine about like I say, journaling, or gratitude, or that daily aspect of trying to box off what's within your sphere of control and placing your focus within that. Because otherwise you're like a dog chasing a frisbee that's never going to fucking land. You're just busy doing figure eights, chasing things outside of your control, causing that constant hedonic treadmill of anxiety and sort of lack of fulfillment, because again, those things aren't in your control.
Yeah, put it better. Yeah, you get into that zone and never really achieve anything potentially, and then you get to the end of the day, like, what have I actually achieved today?
So talk to us, for people that are unfamiliar. So you realize that you've got a hole in your heart. This is what kind of came out the back end of it. So what actually did you realize was the root cause of it? What have you had to do to adapt to it? Is there any concerns about yourself or your son or anything moving forwards? Have you got any limitations?
So probably just before Christmas, I found out that I actually had a hole in the heart. So it happened in May, didn't it? I initially got the prognosis of a tiny dissection in my carotid artery, but they wasn't sure. They were so unsure they couldn't find anything else, so I got sent away with that and some aspirin. And I also got told that it was in dispute, so another specialist wanted to look at my case, and there was more tests coming up. So fast forward to like Christmas time, I'd done all the tests. I was kind of just waiting around to hear. And then I got a letter saying, just go back a bit, that in Middlesbrough, the hole in the heart was kind of ruled out. We did like an ECG and an ultrasound on my heart. They couldn't see anything wrong with it. And they were like, okay, we can kind of rule that out. So when I did the second test, another test, sorry, to look for a hole in the heart, I was kind of thinking, oh, it's just going to be a routine test. They won't find anything. So they wired me up at Blackburn Hospital, and you could see it perfectly on the screen. My heart, it was like an ultrasound, but they had a wire into my bloodstream so they could put saline solution, some bubbles in, and then watch it go to my heart and see if any bubbles pass through from the left side to the right side. So like I said, you could see it clear as day on the screen, beating away, and then they put these bubbles into my bloodstream, and you could just see them bouncing around on one side, and then they made me like hold my breath and just push as if I'm trying to blow out, but not let any air come out, and it just like puts your system under pressure, which is called the Valsalva maneuver. So they made me do that, and we did it a couple of times. I didn't really see anything, and then we did it one more time. And then someone said they saw a bubble or two pass through, and I couldn't see it, to be honest. So as soon as someone said that, we did it another 5-6 times. The same Valsalva maneuver, more bubbles into my bloodstream, and it was so hard to tell. I couldn't see anything. There's only one person that said they couldn't. There were about 3 nurses watching it. I think 2 were trainees, 1 were doing it, and so
one of them was a janitor.
Yeah,
just fucking in there for a bit of a look.
Yeah, it was really interesting, mate.
Mate, I bet it was. But like, what did you think you were? It sounds silly to say, but like, I've got a myriad of fucking problems with my body, but I almost, and this is stupid. I know it's stupid what I'm about to say. Hey folks, just wanted to jump in with a quick piece around firefighter health and well-being. Whether you are trying to join the fire service and pass them tricky fitness tests, if you are currently serving, or if you are coming up to that next chapter of your life, retiring from the emergency services, we get so many different questions around it. So in partnership with Fitness for the Frontline, we have come up with a series of guidance and programs specifically designed to reflect the physical elements of the role of a firefighter. So whether it's carrying an LPP across an overgrown field, lifting a ladder above your head under running it, or wrestling with cutting gear for 30 plus minutes at some kind of complicated RTC, our bodies are required to lift, push, and carry objects in very specific circumstances. That is effectively what Fitness on the Frontline focuses on, as well as the longer term aspects of overall health and wellness for our firefighters. Now, we are definitely not about to be smashing out world records or getting that beach body ready in 6 weeks rubbish. The systems and programs that we put in place are adjusted for people's current fitness levels, and they're not a prescriptive weight or a one-size-fits-all BS. It is very likely for myself personally that I'm still going to be a firefighter when I'm 60 plus, so longevity in the role is really important to me, and I know it is for so many people out there. It all starts with no obligation, 7 days worth of the programming, absolutely free. So whether you're joining, serving, or looking at the next chapter in your life, Fitness for the Frontline is designed by firefighters for firefighters. Now back to the show. I have a real, like, and is this a male thing? I've got an aversion to like going to these sick factories, and that's so probably insulting because they do some incredible work, but I'm not sure sometimes, unless it's something colossal, it's going to make a massive difference to my life. Now, colossal is obviously a spectrum, and something that's crucially important to one person is not less important to the other. But by this time, you'd started re-engaging in fitness again anyway. And you were training, your confidence was growing with stuff. What did you have any fear that they're going to give you some news to say, oh yeah, no, it's definitely this, you can't do anything at all, because you've already been doing stuff?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yes, I kind of went, my mindset on that was I'm just going to try and find a cause. I thought they might never find a cause, because I thought we've done so many tests up to now, nothing's flagged up. Everyone keeps telling me, like you said, I was back training hard now, mate. Probably almost, everything back to normal, feeling good, feeling strong, just wanting answers more than anything. I just thought I'd get a little bit of closure, or they'd say we still can't find anything. I wasn't expecting any bad news or necessarily anything. And either way, I'd have probably just carried on doing what I was doing, because deep down I was fine. I would just go in for some answers and to try and speed up the process of getting back to work. I just wanted these tests boxed off so I can get my job back now, because that's the only thing holding me back. Because like what we said, I was back training hard, feeling good, not really a tiny part of me, but not really worried about anything happening, because I'm on these meds, just prevention medication. So for me,
are you on them indefinitely?
Yeah, I'm on like a clopidogrel, it's called. It's like a anti-blood clotting agent. So the specialist said I'll be on them forever, just as a preventative measure more than anything. And he said on those, I should, touch wood, never have a stroke again.
So what are they called? Sorry.
Clopidogrel.
Okay. Are they an anticoagulant or are they a blood thinner?
I think they're coagulant, mate. I think they're somewhere in between, but more just anti-clotting agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something different, isn't it? When it's obviously you can demonstrate. I know fuck all about the blood, but I've had a myriad of issues with blood clots in my legs and all this sort of varicose vein stuff, and I didn't like the idea of having to take medication forever. Not that I don't know why. I just feel like I don't know. I don't want to be reliant on something, and sometimes I worry about the cost of it. But if you've not found it to have any dramatic effect on you, then yeah, people take medication every day.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, mate. Before this, I would never take fucking paracetamol or anything unless I absolutely needed it and I couldn't function without it. I would always try and go without. I wanted to like never be reliant on something like you said, but now I'd rather take this one pill in the morning if it means I'm not going to have a stroke.
Fuck yeah, that's a pretty good payoff.
Yeah. Let's not do that again.
Yeah. So what does it mean having a hole in your heart? What are you supposed to do about that?
Yeah, so like I said, I got the letter to say they've reviewed the footage. So I left the hospital with that test, and he kind of said, "You've got the all clear. It's too small, or if there was, it's too small, or we couldn't see one." So they kind of sent me away, and I took that as there is no hole. Like one person saw something. So I left fine. Then a week or two later, I got this letter, like 2-3 days before Christmas, saying something. I think I've got it somewhere. I'll just try and give you some of the terminology. The bubble echo has now been completed, and there is showing evidence of passage of trivial saline contrast from right atrium to left atrium, only at Valsalva maneuver. And then it says no significant interarterial shunt demonstrated. Basically, like I've obviously spoke to the specialist about it because I don't fully understand like the terminology. Just said basically it means the hole is so small, it's present when your system is under pressure. So we kind of like play devil's advocate and try and figure out what happened on the days. Maybe I had this tiny blood clot in my heart. It's been sat on this hole for X amount of time. I'm working hard that day. I've decided to have 2 lots of energy drink, a coffee. I'm starting to put my system under quite a lot of pressure by doing what I'm doing, unbeknown to me that I've got anything wrong with me. And I've gone and done a little bit of weightlifting. And when you weightlift, if you clean and jerk, you do the Valsalva maneuver when you slightly bounce and hold your breath, and you do it without thinking. So I've done that, and then
that's part of the explosive power in the movement as well. You're trying to harness that. You've got this big balloon of energy that's sat in your chest, and you're trying to drive hard through that and take that almost kinetic stored energy and explode through. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, to make the barbell feel seem lighter, isn't it? You do that little maneuver, and it helps. But yeah, so I've done that, and then what's happened is I've forced this blood clot through the tiny hole, and by doing so, it's split into 7 smaller blood clots, and then as we know, it made its way to my brain, and then I had a stroke or multiple strokes. It felt to me like one episode, but 7 parts of my brain were affected by it, and I'm very lucky that it wasn't much. Yeah. So that kind of what was given to me over the phone. So I said, so what does this mean? Because I said like we said, I'm back training hard now. I'm feeling good. I wasn't expecting you to tell me this. Do I need an operation to fix my heart? And then if that's the case, this is more time waiting around thinking I'm never going to get back to work, or it's just another, I don't know, 6-12 months on what has already been 9 months. So I'm like, this is not what I want to be hearing. And he just said, it's very a bad thing. He said because it is so small, it doesn't warrant an operation. So I'm like, this is good. So now what? And he said, on the medication you're on, clopidogrel, he said there's less than a 2% chance of this happening again. And I said, that's good news, isn't it? He said, yeah, it is. He said, and I said, well, I want you to get that in writing because work is still waiting on a report. And he said he would do. He said, so I've just got, I've done the blood test. They're looking for, it's called a thrombophilia screen. So they're looking to see whether I'm prone to blood clots. And then if might just mean a slight tweak in my medication. But again, he said it won't affect the risk score of me having another stroke. He said we know the prognosis, and he just wants all the details to put in this report for work. So I'm still waiting on that. But yeah, so like, if anything, it's the best possible outcome. I have a tiny hole. It's too small to operate. I'm on medication for life, unfortunately, but at least it means I can get my life back and carry on. And I've got closure. I'm back training hard and feeling good again. And I'm pretty much over it, moving on. Just a work situation holding back slightly, but yeah, I feel good about it, man.
So are you operational again yet?
No, so I'm back in on modified duties.
Fucking hell, mate.
It's been such a battle with them. I think.
Yeah, but you've done all these fucking competitions and everything since then. And I'm not saying this for 1 second, like you're taking the piss. It's just like most people would be the other end of the spectrum. You know, they'd be fucking doing all the part-time in hiding away and all this sort of shit. You're like the rare kind. You actually want to get back in there. And this is crazy.
Yeah, I am, mate. Yeah, this is like, being off work is like a punishment to me, mate. I'm keen. I want to be back. I want to be kept busy. I just want everything I lost that day. I want it all back, mate, and more.
Yeah.
And I'm getting sick of waiting now. I feel like I said, it just feels like a punishment that this bad thing has happened to me. I've more than proved enough that I'm fine. I'm over it, and now I've got all the results. Let's get me back. And so 2 years ago, my blood pressure looked slightly high. Even though I did a 24-hour, 48-hour monitor, whatever it was, sent that back and proved that wrong. My BMI also says I'm obese. So when, like a week and a half after the stroke, like I said, the issues I had on that last medical, I almost like argued back. I said, look, BMI is flawed. I said, we're going to have to agree to disagree. I said, it doesn't take into account, like we said, the sport you do or anything. It's just height times weight, you're fat. And that, I said, you need to look past it and just look at me objectively. Like, let's just look at me. And we just had to agree to disagree. We had a bit of, it almost got heated, if you will. And that was that. And I went away, did the monitor, proved them wrong, and I was back on the run. But this,
because you're still really, really young. You're 33, right?
Yeah, 33.
So young in the grand scheme of things. And you're one of those who's like, I don't fucking blow smoke up your ass, but you're a great ambassador for the sector. You know, you put yourself out there, you fucking raise money for charity. You're a dad, you're a young guy, you know, you're competent, all this sort of stuff. You're the ideal person. You're a great success story, supporting somebody back to work and resiliency and all that sort of stuff, and how we look after our staff. And some people who fit inside that BMI metric are horrifically unfit. Do you know what I mean? Fucking chronic pains, and you know they've got CV up the fucking arse. It's terrible.
Completely, and that it does need someone that just has a bit more knowledge and experience and can look past those.
What are you doing on modifieds? You just making tea and putting everybody to bed and reading them stories and shit, or what?
My watch and like my station manager and everyone wants me back. I am well thought of, and most people, especially my watch and station manager, are keen to get me back because I am one of the keen firefighters and acting crew managers and things, and I want to get back, and it'll be good for me to get back and good for them. But on mods, I'm kind of following my 224, but not like the whole night shift. So I do the days, and I'll go and do some home fire safety checks, some business fire safety checks, catch up on my admin emails. When I've been back, I've been like reading up on stuff. It's just because it's been so long, and I had a stroke on the memory side. I'm slightly paranoid I might have forgot stuff. So I've had plenty of time to read up on service orders, whatever I was worried about, you know, for when I do get back and I am back. I just want to make sure I know everything I did know before and more, hopefully, to just get my head back in the game. Have a look around the fire engine, make sure I know where all the kit is still and how it works and what it does. I've just been doing that on mods, trying to keep busy and hopefully with light at the end of the tunnel, and just be ready for when I am back properly.
100%, mate. Now, one of the things I did want to ask you, because when we started, when we had our first conversation, you were speaking about how it sort of shone a light on that vulnerability aspect, and you had so many other things in your life that you wanted to work on, that you are working on. One of them was sort of doing your CrossFit coaching, maybe, and also doing your PT stuff. You've managed to kick that off. How has you found that sort of initial journey into having another passion that you're proud of? Not more or less than the fire service or any of that bollocks, but something where you can really utilize your skill set and ultimately like your kind of journey as well, because there's not really any greater comeback stories than yours.
No, thanks, mate. Yeah. That's it. I needed something. Obviously, the fire service door was closed, and I had to accept that and close it myself as well and stop thinking about it. So I needed something else. focus on, and it was
What's that
like
stoicism again, mate? It's control of the controllables. I've done everything I can in this port. There's no
yeah,
point me applying any more cognitive horsepower here because it's not going to fucking move it forwards. I just need to wait it out. Whereas
yeah.
what is in my control? And yeah, sorry, you've done that.
No, exactly that, mate. Perfect example of stoicism. Control the controllables. If it's out of your control, don't waste your time and energy on it. And that's what obviously came to that point. I'm like, right, well, what can I be doing? I want to be kept busy. I need to be doing something productive. I know what I like doing, and that's fitness and helping people and whatever it is. So I did an online PT qualification. It gave me like plenty of work to do, like in my own time at home, which I had. And then I was still, like we said, I was back training myself early doors, just steady away cardio, and I built it up and built it up. So I was focusing on myself physically, and then like at home, the stimulation mentally, and was working toward this qualification. And I did that, and I got quite a few clients early doors. Like, and
I bet you did.
at the gym I was at, like training, they said you can use it, you can bring them down, and they were really good with me. So I had quite a few, and now I'm kind of more sweat. I've got like 4 or 5 people on programs now that I've started doing like more online programs.
Yeah.
I'll do it all up in my own time, usually on a night time, and then I'll just send them the program and they'll work through it. And I've got at the minute, 4 or 5 clients on programs. It's doing really well. It's keeping me busy. I'm enjoying like doing those programs for people and hearing the feedback and helping them achieve their fitness goals as
Yeah.
well.
It's incredible to get yourself into the mindset of where someone else's challenges are and what is some of them being physical, some of them being psychological, some of them being discipline and all that sort of stuff. How have you found mentally zooming out and trying to place your focus on how someone else sees their journey? Because we all think, you've had certain progress and certain achievements based on your own theories and things that you've sort of developed and or learned from in different programs that are out there. What have you found, like turning that mirror or turning that lens round onto other people and trying to put in, because it's a bit like you're not fucking perfect or anything, but you're like at step whatever 48 and you're making progress to these big goals that you want to do, trying to take yourself back. And this is not saying your clients are at step 1. Some of them will be at step 7 and 12 and 18 and stuff like that. How have you found that sort of mental shift? And is there anything, I mean, similar to like the fire service analogy, getting back to basics, is there anything that when you first taking people on, you thought, whoa, we need to strip all this back? Don't be looking at fucking that guy in the CrossFit games and trying to do, X, Y, Z. We need to go all the way back to ABC. What are some of those fundamentals that you think people sometimes skip?
Yeah, really good question and point, mate. Because I've trial and tested lots of programs in fitness and all sorts of things. And like I said, at the minute it's CrossFit and a few other things, but I've done bodybuilding, strength work, all that sort of stuff. And I do have a lot of knowledge, and I know what's worked for me personally, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for someone else.
Yeah.
And it's about getting them in, just seeing where they're at, or having a good chat with them first, finding what they do on a day to day, what they like doing, what they don't like doing, what they think they're good at, just find out where they're at and not just jump headfirst into any one thing. And let's set up a structured program with achievable goals. Ask them what they want to achieve, whether it's weight loss, gain strength, and then look to really start from basic stuff like body weight stuff, if anything, and cardio, whatever it is, and then find out where they're
Bodyweight
at.
stuff is an amazing stuff to start with. People think it's really belittling, and sometimes they hate working with that. But if you can't get a fuller understanding of your own physical dynamics, then there's no point trying to throw load onto a weak set of foundations because you're just going to fucking hurt it. Do you know what I mean? If you can't do burpees, pull-ups, you can't do tuck throughs, you can't do some of the basic fundamentals, then we've already, highlighted some hollow planks in the floor of your, fitness fundamentals. So there's no point trying to build things on those hollow blocks. But when they see people doing all these crazy cool fucking power cleans, some of that really is, yes, the strength is very impressive, but there's a massive amount of range of movement and stability involved in that. Even if you try to get people to do an overhead squat with an empty bar, most people won't be able to do it.
No, I couldn't when I first started, mate. Not at all. No, it's such a difficult movement and mobility for your joints to get into. If you've trained a certain way for a long time, my hips and knees and ankles did not like getting in that position.
Yeah.
Oh, it took me so long to like drill the movements and get into it.
But it feels so pathetic as well. You don't, and you're like, what? Maybe my body just doesn't work this way. But it's like, no, most people start there. but you have to get used to being shit again for so long. And also, like, when you're speaking to people about what their goal is, I always think that's an interesting thing, because what people think they want versus what they actually want. And this is not you trying to spin them into doing your thing, but for every person, for me, that says they want to be strong and flexible and disciplined, for every one person that says that, I actually could show you 99 people that actually just want to look strong and disciplined and flexible, but very few people actually want to do it, because
Yeah.
the people that actually do it the best don't always look the best. You know, there's a
No.
big difference between wanting to look, and it's okay if you want to look a certain way. You know, I certainly, there's a big percentage or a certain percentage of my training that is geared towards some aesthetics, but most people, I think, just want to look a certain way. And I always say to people, like, especially women, when they say I want to lose weight, I says, okay, well, you know, lose a fucking pound and then fuck off. Do you know what I mean? What do you mean I just want to lose weight? What does that even mean? They say, well, you know, I want to, you know, a bit off here and a bit off there. Oh, so you want to look different? Sorry, you just said you wanted to lose weight, because your weight is your relationship between you and the earth. Because actually, we could do a bunch of fundamentals and then progress into some lifting movements. And actually, eventually, your body's disposition would shift and you would develop more muscle. So you may even end up weighing more than you do now. But actually, if your goal is to weigh less, we'll just fucking starve you. But actually, the goal is not that you want to weigh less. You want to look a little bit different, which is absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. But don't get confused with it, what it is you want. Do you know what I mean? We give these labels to things that actually is not the goal that we think we want. So I always think, like, a problem well defined is a problem half solved. If you can get to the fundamental of what you actually want to do, because we could focus on losing weight, and actually your body won't end up looking the way you want it to look, because we're not focusing on the things behind the reason you think you want to do it.
Mate, I couldn't put it better myself. Perfect. And it is about that goal setting and making it achievable, but actually getting to the bottom of what it actually is they want, and like you said, guiding them to the right one that is going to be achievable, that is actually going to be where they want to be, rather than just lose weight, because they might lose a bit of weight and not even look how they want it to look, like you said. And
also being able to have different metrics of progress. So if your one singular metric is I want to lose weight, then you'll lose a lot to start with. And if you're doing it in certain ways, a lot of that might just be fucking water or whatever. But then it will plateau, and it might even go back up at times, especially if you're working with women and menstrual cycles and the way that they eat and the time of day that they weigh themselves. There's so many variables involved in that. But if you can have things like fucking whatever, you know, number of burpees in a minute, you know, vertical jump, max deadlift, 1 mile run, you know, measurements, you know, waist, hip, arms, all of these things. When one thing is stagnant, you will still find you're making progress on something else. So you can still have that feeling of success and development and progress. But if you're only focusing on one singular metric, you can feel quite disengaged and unfulfilled quite quickly, because everybody stagnates with something. Even if it's just your one rep max, that's going to fucking stagnate as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Couldn't agree more. And that, I think that's the beauty of like CrossFit and varied training. You've got so many things to measure and do and see progress on, like you said, and your strength stuff and all of it. Like how many burpees you can do in a minute, like you said. It's the really good things. And if you do stagnate a plateau at one thing, you will see progress in another if you're trying to measure lots of different things. And there's always is going to be progress. And if you're progressing down one way, if you're getting stronger, you might be actually putting a bit more weight on, you know, because of the muscle gains or whatever it is. So it's about looking at all the metrics and all the things you want to get better at. And
it's that holistic fitness, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, mate. Yeah, and that's where I am now. Like personally, like when I were a bit younger, I would just train to look good, and now like I just train to get better at everything. And at CrossFit, I've started swimming now and running a bit more. I want to get very good at everything, especially CrossFit still. And luckily, if you're doing that anyway, the muscle and the look, it comes with it, with the hard work that you put in anyway. So, but I don't really train to look good anymore. I just train to get better, and it just comes with it.
It just comes with it, isn't it? It's amazing how when you stop focusing on it, it becomes so much more natural, and you just get into you embed yourself into a lifestyle that just naturally starts to perpetuate itself. It's no longer like you're pushing it uphill. You start actually getting momentum, and now it's just gentle taps from lots of little angles, and the momentum keeps going.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah.
So you did one of the qualifiers recently, didn't you? You did 23.1?
Yeah. Saturday. Yeah, Saturday morning I did it. Yeah.
So for
I did
people that this is complete fucking foreign to them, talk to us about what a qualifiers are all about, what this particular discipline involved, and sort of how you got on with it.
Yeah, so the CrossFit, the sport, every year they do the CrossFit Open, and it's this time of year. It's February to early March, and it's 3 weeks. Every Thursday night they release a workout, so we don't know the workout until Thursday night. It's released online, and usually four professional games athletes, two men, two women, will do the workout live, and you can watch them do it and see how they strategize it or whatever. And then you've got until Monday for you to do it and submit it online and get a score, and you get put on a worldwide leaderboard against everyone else that is doing CrossFit. And yeah, you do that for 3 weeks, and depending on how you do, you get a placing. So last year I was in the top 5% in the world. I did quite well, and I made it to the
bed.
And then the quarterfinals, I wasn't as good as I am now, so it wasn't the top of my list. I was already at a competition with my friends, so I left the quarterfinals. I saved the workouts and I did them in my own time another time, but I knew I wouldn't get to the semi-finals. It just wasn't good enough, and I'm more than fine with that. I was at a competition with my friends, but this year, yeah, I've just done the first one, and I should probably do better than next year. So yeah, the format is they release these free workouts, and by the third one, you'll have a worldwide score. Lots of CrossFit gyms have all their clients and people do the workouts, and they'll have their own leaderboard in the CrossFit gym. So last year, I was at the top of the leaderboard in my CrossFit gym, and my goal is to make sure I retain that title this year. And well, I should get to the quarterfinals really, and let's see if I can get to the semis this time. I'll just see, as long as I'm improving. And then ideally, yeah, the elite CrossFitters will do the open workouts. They'll do so well, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then they'll get to the actual CrossFit Games, which is in America later on in the year. And that's the format of it.
What's your goal with it all? Because we've got a couple of podcasts coming up. Do you know who Richard Hall is? Tricky Ricky.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I couldn't put a picture to the name, but
yeah, so he's got 52 something thousand followers, and he runs Gritstone CrossFit, and he's a firefighter from the UK. But there's also Matt Chan from America. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, he's a firefighter in America, isn't he?
Yeah, he's coming on next week. Really fascinating guy, because he had a colossal injury on a downhill mountain biking thing, and he's had some massive setbacks similar to yourself. So like really fascinating guy to hear how he's overcome that and how he's got back to it. But for people that have not yet, obviously they won't have heard them because yours will be out before that. What is your aspiration to get up there? And do you think like at your age, is there age brackets? How does it work?
Yeah, so in my age bracket now, I'm 33, and I'm in like I think it's like 17 up to 35 age bracket to qualify for the CrossFit Games.
Fucking hell, that's all in one age bracket.
I think so. Yeah, I'd have to double check. I don't.
That's a lot.
I'm pretty sure it is like the young adult age, the pro version. Sorry. So in that age bracket, I've only been doing CrossFit 2 years, and I've got good in those 2 years, but just not as good as those people that have done it for so long. And it probably is unrealistic for me to get to the games in that age category. So I'm fine with that. But when I turn 35, I'll be in the 35 to 39, the Masters category, and I don't see why I shouldn't be able to qualify for the game. So that I've got 2 years to get very good at it, and let's just see if I can.
You're right. I'm looking at it now. So it's 17 to 35.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
And then it breaks up. So it's 35 to 39, 40 to 44, 45 to 49, and then it goes upwards from there. But they have some quite old competitors in it. But yeah, that whole first group, that's colossal. I feel like they should trim that down a little bit. They do go all the way up to 65 plus for the competitors. But yeah, everyone between 17 and 35 is in the same bucket. I think that's a big bucket.
Yeah, and there's some young, like the games athletes that between 20 and 25, and
that's what I'm saying.
And good, and there's just no chance I could ever compete with them. They're amazing. Like, hats off to them. They've trained for a long time. They're absolutely brilliant at it. But yeah, I won't get a sniff with them.
But you are also that perfect age. You know, you develop for another 2 years when you really got into that slipstream, and then you're in that 35 to 39 bracket. You can do some fucking damage.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Nice.
Mate,
so
that's the plan.
you put the you decided to put your discharge papers up on your wall. Why did you do
Yeah,
that? And then talk to us a little bit about raising some money. You've done some Hydrox stuff. You've done some money for charity for stroke charities.
yeah. So like, I'm keen on. I have a bit of a wall of like my accolades, achievements, whatever you want to call it. But I'm also keen to remember the bad things that have happened to me and what I've done to overcome it. And the discharge paperwork, like it just says, like we said initially, I was given the artery dissection, so it says like a right carotid artery dissection, multiple embolic, which is clots, multiple clots causing a stroke. And I'm like, it's such a big thing that happened to me and really put me in a dark hole.
Well, it kill a
And
lot of people as well.
yeah, definitely, mate. I'm so lucky that I survived, and I survived with no disabilities. Like I couldn't talk properly for 2 weeks.
I
Um,
remember, yeah.
yeah, I couldn't move my arms for about an hour. But after that, I've really managed to bounce back so well. And they said that's partly down to me being young and so fit and keeping
Hmm.
myself fit over the years, and a lot of luck. And I'm obviously very grateful and appreciative of that. So I look at it as such a big like life a curveball that life threw at me, and luckily I managed to bounce back, and I bounced back stronger. And the journey and the process I went through and where I am now, I'm so proud of it, and it
Should be,
has.
mate.
Yeah. I'm very proud of like getting through it, because when it happened, like I was so low, mate. I could, I was in that mindset of why me? Why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
I was doing well at life. I was happy, and then all of a sudden, I'm at rock bottom, and I couldn't see any light, and it was just the most horrible dark. I cried more times than I can remember. I never cry usually, mate. I was
Mm.
so. But then when you do get out of it, you're like, wow, I was in that place, and look at me now. It's yeah, I'm
Did you
very
ever
proud.
feel like you were pushing anybody away? And I know that's a bit of a closed question, and feel free to disagree with me. But like sometimes when you get in your lowest fucking moments, it's almost like I don't know if it's like an animal thing where the animal starts to distance itself from the group because it feels like it's going to die or it feels like it's useless. But like I found at those lowest moments, sometimes I felt like I'm pushing my misses away, and I'm like, no, I'm fucking done. Do you know what I mean? You deserve better than this and all that sort of shit. And it can get really dark.
Yeah, oh mate, yeah, I felt all those emotions. Like, luckily, my partner Katie and my son and my brother, they kept checking in on me. But at times when Katie took a bit of time off work, like a week or two when it
Mm.
happened, and was around helping me lots, and just obviously so worried about anything happening again. She really was there for me. But you feel like I'm alone. This has happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm so low and dark. I get up and she'd still be in bed. I just sit downstairs crying about it, mate. Like thinking, why me?
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do now? Like I didn't have any path at that point. I didn't have an answer exactly why it happened, and just I was so low. And like you said, what happened with work, I had to fully close work store. I didn't really want to hear or see anything about work, so I really wanted to stay away from it because it just upset me more. And
Yeah.
then like closing all these doors, and then you're like, fucking hell, where do I go now, so to speak, and how do I get out of this hole?
Yeah.
And then obviously, luckily, my partner and my brother took a week off work. He come round every day, and
Fucking
they,
hell.
they just
That means a lot, doesn't it?
it does, mate. Yeah, like the day after, I only wanted to tell a few people before I announced it to everyone, just because everyone were asking me how the competition went, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bad timing that happened. So I wanted to tell them, but I didn't want to tell them yet. So I wanted to tell the most important people, my partner and my brother, and a couple of others that I'm close with at work. So I made sure I rang them first, and then before I put it out to the world, and just so everyone stopped asking me how the competition went.
Yeah, yeah.
Find what happened. So yeah, they did so much for me in the early days, and you don't think
How
you go on.
sorry, go on.
No, well, you're not sure. I'm so like determined to fix things myself usually, and I have done like to some extent. I've done so well to get out of this hole, but those people that were there for me, like and
The
from your
performance enhancers. You've kind of
yeah
you light the fire, but you're a bit like you're fucking about in the woods with a little fire and you're trying, but those people come in and they're like, yeah, no, you fucking going for it,
yeah
you're doing it right. I tell you what, mate, let me fucking grab you some more wood. Do you know what I mean? Let me help you out. Let me encourage you. And you're like, right, yeah, okay, okay. And then because it could have gone either way, it would have just required a fucking change of the wind, a change in your attitude, and that fire would have gone out.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. You need those arms around your shoulder. You need to offload to those people about my work situation, about everything I'm scared and worried about, and
Yeah.
just have those chats. And someone being there for you is you need it more than you think, and you don't think you need it. And I've always been quite determined to do things myself, and this I couldn't really fully do myself. I needed those people, and I'm very grateful for it. And another one is from the first podcast we did, a lad called Dan, that we ended up doing this charity event together, High Rocks. He reached out to me on the back of your podcast. He had something with work, and all it is, he didn't even know me, mate. He just once a week he'd message me, how are things, how are you getting on? And it was just nice that an absolute stranger was doing that for me off his own back. And I was like,
Yeah.
we had a lot in common as well. I think that so we really started to bond, and as obviously I progressed so well, and I was very lucky, like I said, and then I bounced back so fast, and then we started like making plans to, let's get this out there, let's do something positive with what's happened to me and help other people in like the difficult situations, and
Mate,
yeah,
that is absolutely incredible. Fucking shout out to Dan. What a
yeah,
colossal guy. Because I always say that, mate. Like every time we receive emails, messages, and all that sort of stuff, even just if it's somebody just saying thank you for whatever, it's like the amount of people that think that. So the amount of people that will have seen your story and gone, oh wow, they'll have given it a like or a share or whatever. That's like stage one. In fact, stage one is people just seeing it and going, oh yeah, that's fair play, and doing nothing, which is fine as well. And that's what we're fucking busy people. And then the next level is liking it, sharing it, and then the next one is just dropping you that message. But then to follow through and go, you know what? No, this is my moral compass. I'm being fucking the gravitational pull here is this is a person trying to do something. And even if you're not willing to say what you're struggling with, like not saying that Dan is struggling with anything, but like when someone says, it's like they see something in you that they know is in themselves as well, and they're like, I want to be near this because it helps me believe that I can overcome my thing, even if it's significantly smaller than what Zac's going through. It's so fucking inspiring. And that's when people are, oh, it's corny, it's bullshit as well. I'm like, no, it's fucking real. And
no,
it's
it is.
real. It's so real. And then, but this people never know this. I mean, people have seen the photos of you and this other firefighter doing a fucking thing. And they're like, oh, yeah, they probably go way back. No, they don't. I mean, this is literally our conversation now, the first time you said it to me. But I'm like, the fact that that comes from someone just going above and beyond, reaching out. And it's always like, look, I know this might sound really weird, and I know we don't really know each other, but I just saw this and saw that, or I heard you on this, and just really, love to hear how you're getting on. Do you need any help with anything? I'm not sure if I'll be help at all. Maybe just even just that message that is more than enough, isn't it? Sometimes.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, yeah. It's so helpful. And like you said, it wasn't just the one. It was like every other week. It just see where I was at. We wouldn't speak for a week, and then he just messaged me up. How are things, mate? How are you getting on? Are you feeling any better? Have you had any news? It's just, this complete stranger reaching out to me like multiple times. I was like, you're a top bloke, mate.
So
And
when you decided to do that thing together, that must have been like the fucking cherry. Was that the first time you met each other when you went for it, or did you do any training together
no,
before
so
it?
we managed to meet the week before, but we'd planned it and planned it. And then the week before, he said, oh, I'm over at Manchester doing some tests to try and get in Greater Manchester Fire Rescue Service. He fancies moving up here and doing that. So he said,
Yeah.
well, why don't we get a couple of sessions in together and just make sure we have some tactics for this one we're doing next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, "Oh, perfect, mate. Yeah, let's do it." So we did, and he's such a nice guy, mate. He came round to mine for tea, and we trained 2 days while we were here, and then and yeah, it went really well, and we really got on. Like we said, we had so much in common. We're firefighters. We're keen. We love the fire service, and we love fitness and CrossFit in particular, and we just had so much in common. And like we said, he really helped me in a dark time of my life. So I had a lot of time for him, and yeah, he's a top man.
People like that, mate. The people forget, and this is kind of the whole point of the podcast. People forget how many people like that are out there.
Yeah.
But life can feel so. Even though I've said, we've never been so connected, but also as a society, some people just never felt so alone. Even though they've got these connections everywhere, but it takes that, just getting over yourself, reaching out, willing to look stupid, willing to never have the message being read, willing to be rejected, just to realize that you know what? A lot of people are a lot more alike you than they are different. We look on Facebook and fucking Instagram and everywhere, and we think that life is so polar opposite and everyone's against everybody, and it's just an echo chamber of vitriolic hatred and fucking anger. But you know what? It's really not. It's really not. There's a lot of incredible people out there when you get them on a one-to-one basis, and you've got far more in common than you have apart.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, yeah, and that was done for me. But there's more people out there like that than you think, and when you are going through those times, that's when they might get in touch with you. And luckily, Dan did, and yeah,
So talk to us about Hydrox, sorry, because people, and this is what I love. Like, I don't dislike CrossFit, but what I love is that CrossFit, with the greatest respect to it, has flown in on the back of predominantly functional fitness, which is wonderful. And you see this with, whatever national fitness games. You see it with Hydrox. You see it with the turf games. There's loads of similars for some reason or another. Maybe the competitive aspect, I don't know. CrossFit is just shot fucking head and shoulders above the rest. But people that don't know what Hydrox is, because they do quite a lot of them up and down the UK now, what was
yeah,
involved in it, and like how many people were there? Because you guys did it in Firekit as well, didn't you?
we did. Yeah, yeah, it's getting quite big now. So initially, I did a high rocks in Birmingham. 4 or 5 months after having a stroke by myself this time, just as a first one back and a bit of a get some nerves out of the way and see if I'm all right. And it
Yeah.
went really. Um, so I had that in the bank. I really enjoyed the event, and then like we said, me and Dan were talking at this point, and we like putting things in place. And we're like, why don't we do a doubles high rocks? And he mentioned Firecat. I'm like, oh well, you've said it now. We're gonna have to do it in Firecat. Make a big song and dance about it. We'll do it for the Stroke Association and the Firefighters charity, and it's tough anyway without fire kit. So I said it's going to
Yeah.
be
I
really tough.
like, with the greatest of respect, that it doesn't contain some of the gymnastic movements that you sometimes see in other things like CrossFit
Yeah,
as well, because I think that can sometimes be a little bit limiting for some people to engage with. Whereas High Rocks there's wall balls, there's sleds, there's rows, there's a push sled, there's a rope pull, there's lunges, there's burpee. What else? What's involved in it?
exactly that, mate. CrossFit can be out of reach for some people with the element and skills like needed, especially the gymnastic side of it. But High Rocks kind of is that the one before it, the one where all
Because
the
you can still be incredibly fit and still be a fucking beast, and you might be fine in CrossFit, but if you struggle with some of those gymnastic movements and you haven't got the time or the discipline or whatever, or you've just got a physiological challenge that means you can't do certain movements, you can still do something like this, and it's fucking really cool. It's really hard as well.
it's perfect, mate. It ticks all those boxes. Anyone can do this. There's different levels and weights to it, but anyone can do it if you're fit, relatively fit. But then as you get to like the harder end, there is like a men's pro one where the weights are a bit heavier and a bit more challenging. But all the movements are doable for someone that's fit and strong. So yeah, we
How heavy
chose.
are we talking? Because some of it, because it's done at pace as well. It's
Yeah,
not. We're not talking crazy powerlifting weights, are we? What sort of ranges were there, and what did you guys go in at?
uh, we did the doubles, which is slightly less than the men's pro. So the doubles weights are first one is the sled push, which is 150, which isn't that much, over 100 meters.
Okay.
Um, and that's split in a pair. So I did 12 and a half meters, he did 12 and a half, I did another 12 and a half, he did another 12 and a half. And we just kept doing that. And then the sled pull is 112 kilos, I think. Again, not necessarily heavy, but with all the modalities in between and around it, it's hard work. And then there's wall balls, 100 wall balls at 6 kilos. There's sandbag lunges at 25 kilos, I think, over 80 meters, I think that is. There's burpee board jumps. So it's not that heavy, but the problem is to start it, you do a K run, then you do a K ski on a ski erg, then you do another K run, and it's 8K
I
a run.
prefer the ski ergs and a rower. I'll do them all. There's something about running, even without my knee injury before. I'm like, fucking running. Just, I fucking hate it. But a ski erg, I fucking love.
You're big and strong, mate, aren't you? You'll be good at them ergs, you, with
There's
them
long
weights.
limbs as well, though. So, like a rower and a ski erg, yeah, if you've got a good engine behind you, then I bet you fucking not bad at it as well, though. I always like used to have that in workouts. So I'd be like, people will beat me on the pull-ups and stuff like that, but I'd never be that bothered because I'll catch them on the row. I'll just fucking destroy them on the row. There's always something in there like that, and you see on the pulls when you see the wattage and whatever, you're like, fucking hell, I'm gonna smash this.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely, especially like the likes of you and Dan as well. He's tall and strong, so he smashed those elements of it. I'm
Mm.
like somewhere in between, but I'm because I'm quite fit. I'm still very good at it. Do you know what I mean?
I
I'm
think you're
quite
pretty good with the powerlifting movements as well, though. And I know there's not necessarily masses of that in high rocks, but
no.
you've surpassed a lot of your previous training from you've been smashing some PBs recently.
I have, met, yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. Obviously, what happened to me happened, and it's like it's lit a fire in me, and I'm like, I will be better than I ever was, just to prove that what happened to me doesn't matter anymore. I will fix everything, and I'll just make sure I'm miles better than I was, and I'm already am. You know, just that fire inside, and I'm so angry about what happened to me, and I want to overcome it, and yeah, it's
How do
just
you
lit.
manage that anger and not go into self-harm? And I don't mean like
Yeah,
cutting yourself. I just mean like overtraining, not having a bit of self-awareness around what is when it is time to sort of back off and all that sort of shit.
yeah, it's really important, isn't it? And I do that by I plan my week's training. I do my own programming now, so I don't necessarily do the gym programs all the time because you end up racing people all the time, and you're constantly redlining.
That's why I backed off it a little bit. I was doing open workouts like 5 times a week, and it was just fucking too much for me. And like,
Yeah,
it must be so hard. I've never programmed for a CrossFit box or anything like that. But I felt like there was just too much volume of the same stuff, and that's not a dig or any of that shit. But I'm just like, and maybe it's designed that they don't expect people to come 5 days a week. Maybe they just expect people to come 2 or 3 days a week. I don't know. But if you're the sort of person that wants to train every day, I personally, just in my personal Pete Wayfield's personal view, I wouldn't suggest doing an open CrossFit workout every day. If you're going to get into it that much, you should maybe get your own program.
yeah, you should, mate. I completely agree. And when I first started CrossFit, I do a lot of those workouts and constantly race people, constantly redline, constantly try and max out my lifts. And I plateaued quite quickly and didn't progress. And then I just stepped back and I like, not every day needs to be a race, not every day. And you start looking what you want to progress on personally. And I started like changing workouts to suit me or my weaknesses. Right, I want to get better at this, and this. I'm just going to work on this, and this at my own pace. And
Mm.
I'm going to. And I think like you said, I wouldn't tell everyone to go to a CrossFit gym and do the workout every day of every week because you're just going to be constantly maxing out. You're going to knock yourself out at some point.
Mm.
Um, CrossFit, you're supposed to get good at everything. It encourages you to try other sports and do other things. So me
Yeah.
personally, I swim 1 day a week. I run 1 day a week. I've started doing like I do 2 lots of strength sessions a week, and then I only do 2 days of like pure CrossFit. And
You
that's
only do
just
2 strength sessions a week.
yeah. So I usually do a squat. I'd make sure I hit either back or front squats once a week, and then either deadlifts or if I've done back squats, I'll do volume at front squats or whatever it is. Lots of legs and shoulders and try and get deadlifts in. But as long as I've got 1 to 2 strength sessions a week, at the minute it's kind of working out. I'm just so busy because I'll swim once a week now.
No,
I
mate, I
want
think that's good. I think that's a great self-awareness. And I need to find a couple of other bits to put into my sort of programs because I still end up when you've got so much shit going on, you just gravitate to what you know. And I
yeah,
end up
yeah,
going
yeah.
back to some old bodybuilding shit, which I don't want to be doing. I mean, yeah, okay, it makes me look nice and all that sort of shit, but I don't want to be doing it. And I feel my tendons crying and screaming a little bit under stuff. And I just need to, but that's it. When the cognitive load becomes heavy with life and work and podcasting and kids, horses, dogs, and all that shit and piss, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go in, and you haven't even thought about it till your feet hit the mats, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do this
You do
because
what
you remember it
you do.
and you just do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can get into that routine, can't you, with life if you're busy and you don't have, and you don't. That's why I have to write it down what I'm doing that week or that month. I'll do things like a few months ago. I didn't even like swimming, but I need to get out my comfort zone and try it. And now I do it once a week. I love it, and it gives me something else to
It's
focus on.
great for your shoulders as well. It's so great for that range of movement, for that
Yeah,
low load cardio. It's really fucking great. And also, every time I'm doing it, I'll like take a pause every 30 lengths and I'll just do some breath hold work.
yeah,
And it's nice. It just feels nice on the body.
it does, mate. Yeah, it's really good for you. Like you
Or
said,
late to get into it though, because you've either got to buy another membership or you've got to like just be in a place where it's convenient to do it.
yeah,
That's why I had to pull away from a CrossFit box because I didn't want to pay 2 memberships. So I ended up just going to like a normalist gym. I've got my own gym set up at home with the ice bath and all that bollocks. But then when I want to access cardio, quit in a pool and a sauna, I've got this other place that I go to. And I kind of have to just put my own CrossFit workouts or functional fitness workouts together, which you can kind of do. But I also appreciate I have never worked as hard as I have done when I'm in a fucking CrossFit workout, because you've got people just pushing you more. So I do sometimes miss that bit, I'll be honest.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah. And like you said, I'm quite lucky in the fact that there's a leisure centre near me, and because I pay council tax, etc., 2 to 3 days a week, if you're within the local borough, you can go for £1 a session, a swim session.
That's fucking good, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what? I was talking to somebody the other day, sorry to interrupt, about like different ways to help, because we're talking about firefighter pay and blah 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 and all that bollocks that's going on. But it's like, how else could we help frontline workers, NHS, police, carers, firefighters? And I'm like, offer them things that don't. It's not about increasing their pay. Like, give them if they've got a registered address, give them a reduction on their council tax, or offer them a fucking gym membership at the local thing. And I know there's people, I get everybody won't want a gym membership, but I'm sure everybody would appreciate 50 quid off their council tax. And over the year, that's going to accumulate. There's many ways to skin a cat. It's not just about like trying to pay people more or increase council tax. And I'm sure at a government level that won't make sense, or there's a million reasons why you can't do it. But I'm like, yeah, I love what you're saying there. There's lots of ways to help people out, which won't necessarily cost you any more money, and they'll incentivize them to do the thing they want to do anyway. They do want to give you a bit of money, but they don't want to pay for a fucking £30 a month.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, it's a win-win, isn't it? And it works. And most people in the emergency services will jump on those chances, won't they? Because they want to be keeping fit on their time off and things like that.
I think it's a good USP for the business as well, because you can fucking promote it. You say, oh, all blue light staff train here for free, or they get 50%. You know what I mean? Some places will do that if you ask, but I'm like, isn't it? You want to talk about supporting us going to Turkey and clapping for the NHS during COVID, and you think police officers are great. Well, like, show it, and then you can advertise it and you can say how much we help public life staff. I think people would appreciate it.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But anyway, I took us down a rabbit hole there. Sorry. I didn't want to finish off without giving people a little bit of a way to reconnect with you, because you are now doing a bit of the online stuff. People that have seen your journey and have wanted to, they've been clapping for you, supporting you in the dark, but now they've seen, the comeback story that you've had and maybe have a little bit of a challenge themselves. What would be a good way for people to reach out to you? And you're happy for us to drop any links and stuff?
Yeah, so Zac Blackledge on Instagram. My Instagram, I have most of my stuff I put on there now. I'm quite open in what happened to me and my journey and what I'm doing now. I share it all, and trying to inspire others that have stroke survivors or whoever, people early on in the fitness journeys, and just spread that positive message on there. I'm still, from the High Rocks event me and Dan did, we're still collecting donations for another week or two on the Just Giving link. So if you went on Just Giving and put in Zac Blackledge on there, you'd find the link, and it would explain what we did in Fire Kit at the High Rocks race. If anyone's thinking about High Rocks, look at it. It is an amazing thing, and it is growing. And definitely I'm passionate about CrossFit, your local CrossFit box, 1, 2, 3 times a week. I encourage people to get out, get moving, and work on yourself.
Love it. And also that stoicism. I'll tell you what, in the links, we will put a link to the Daily Stoic, because that's really useful for people to get involved with. There's a couple of books that go along with that as well. The gentleman's name is escaping me at the moment, but he's written...
Yeah, isn't it?
What's his fucking name? Can't remember.
He's done a few books on stoicism, and he
does. His name's Ryan Holiday. I nearly forgot it then. Yeah, Ryan Holiday. We'll put that in there for the Daily Stoic. High Rocks. I kept referring to it as Hydrox. I don't know why. I think it's hydroxybutyrate, because I was doing some research the other day. But High Rocks, they do them all up and down the UK. I know I've said it a little bit quickly, but it's black ledge, as in ledge that you would hold on to something if it were a ledge. And then it's comeback coaching as well. And we'll drop the links for both of those in the notes below.
Yes, mate. Yeah, cool.
Beautiful. Cheers, Zac. I love you so much, brother. Send my love to the family. Send my love to you, good lady. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
I will, mate. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks again.
Firefighters podcast is put together to develop, inspire, and hopefully even motivate those individuals who have chosen to serve our communities and be part of the first responder family. It's brought to you by myself, operational firefighter Pete Wakefield. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to see the podcast continuing, please head over to our Patreon page where you can support the ongoing efforts of the podcast. Please hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on whatever platform you're listening to. Please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.